Hello there, you're watching Nightline and I'm Anita Wu. The top stories. Government to appoint youth senator in Dewan Negara. And the price of unsubsidized cooking oil to come down within the next 2 weeks. We begin with our headlining story. A senator will be appointed to represent the youth in Dewan Negara. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, in making the announcement, said he has discussed with the Youth and Sports Minister how important youths are to the nation, and their voices will definitely be heard by the government. Speaking during the launch of the 2022 National Youth Day at Padang Pekan Tuaran in Sabah on Saturday, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the voices of the views of the youth are appreciated as they are the future of the country. He also touched on the unemployment rate amongst youth aged between 15 and 14 nationwide, which has dropped to 5.3% in the first quarter of this year compared to 5.9% in the same period last year. He added the percentage showed that the number of unemployed persons in the first quarter of this year was 585,000, down from 627,000 people in the same period last year. To ensure that the youth unemployment rate continues to drop, he said the government, among others, through strategic cooperation between the Youth and Sports Ministry, the Agriculture and Food Industries Ministry and the Department of Director General of Lands and Mines, would focus more on urban farming.
Ini merupakan strategi bagi meningkatkan penglibatan golongan belia dalam sektor agro makanan selain program Agropreneur Muda. Sejumlah 8,000 usahawan muda telah menerima bantuan meliputi geran, pembiayaan serta kursus jangka masa pendek, khidmat nasihat teknikal dan keuangan.
He added the agro-food sector can provide a lucrative income if it is well managed using the latest technology, as it can guarantee the quality of production that can be exported to help increase national income.
Penglibatan belia dalam sektor agro makanan akan diperkasa melalui pelaksanaan program Agro Jobs Fair at Maha 2022 pada bulan hadapan yang menawarkan 5,000 peluang pekerjaan oleh syarikat-syarikat yang menyertainya. Sehubungan dengan itu, saya menyeru graduan dan belia yang berminat untuk merebut peluang pekerjaan dalam program ini.
Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also revealed that 21.4% or 7 million of the 32.7 million Malaysians were youths aged between 15 and 30, while those aged between 15 and 40 have reached almost 15 million. Therefore, the Prime Minister said the aspirations and views of the youth were also crucial for the government to formulate a direction for the country's future. At the ceremony, the Prime Minister also announced an allocation of 1 million ringgit to the Malaysian Youth Council for the implementation of various youth development programs throughout the country. Meanwhile, Youth and Sports Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal Azumu stressed that his ministry is implementing various new initiatives to ensure that more employment opportunities can be provided for the youth, thus reducing the unemployment rate among the group. Among the initiatives were implementing the Youth Career and Skill for Youth programs that provided job matching services as well as intensive training for youths. Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal said in conjunction with the national level National Youth Day celebration in Tuaran, Sabah on Saturday, more than 1,000 job opportunities would be offered through the Youth Career Programme, while a total of 3 million ringgit has been allocated to provide 2,000 training courses for youths through the Skill for Youth programme. He added, based on the findings of the Malaysian Youth Index in 2021 for the economic domain, the score for employability was at an unsatisfactory level, namely 59.07. In this regard, he said the ministry placed great emphasis on innovation based on the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and efforts to strengthen the country's technical and vocational education and training, or TVET programs, to meet labour market requirements. The price of unsubsidized cooking oil is expected to come down within the next 2 weeks. Special Task Force on Jihad Against Inflation Chairman Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the agreement came following an engagement session with all manufacturers involved, as well as the Malaysian Palm Oil Board MPOB and the Malaysian Palm Oil Council MPOC on Tuesday.
Dia kata daripada harga turun atau harga naik, dia nak masa 2 bulan. Tapi saya kata waktu naik dulu derah je naik harga. Kenapa waktu turun nak ambil masa 2 bulan? Jadi saya mahu dianya dipendekkan dan kita setuju kita akan review harga ni on weekly basis. Ya. Dan ini KP dan NCP sedang membuat dia punya fine tuning lah, detail. Tapi yang pentingnya saya tidaklah memaksa pada masa ini. Saya hendakkan industri ada rasa tanggungjawab. Jangan biarkan kerajaan terkiar-kiar dengan masalah.
Tan Sri Anwar was speaking to reporters after conducting a price survey at Pasar Ketirih in Kelantan on Saturday. According to Tan Sri Anwar, who is also Communications and Multimedia Minister, the manufacturers involved had hinted that a price reduction of 5 to 10% would be done in stages. The National Recovery Council (NPN) will hold a meeting on July 26th to hear the latest report on the COVID-19 situation from the Health Ministry. NPN Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said another report that would be tabled at the meeting was on the country's economic management. On the increasing trend in new COVID-19 cases, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said he was confident that so far the situation is under control. He said the country was not facing any problems in logistical operations, such as hospital beds and the ability to manage cases, adding that the past 2 years have given enough experience in managing COVID-19. He also stressed that the National Recovery Plan 2.0, which was being completed by the NPN, would take into account the holistic measures that should be taken in relation to the economy. This was due to the fact that the people were currently burdened with inflation, rising prices of goods and various other issues. The MySejahtera app has rolled out new features that allow users to check their health records. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the new features are seen as a method of assisting users in monitoring and obtaining more details on their health status.
Jadi kalau dia pergi ke klinik kesihatan KKM ataupun dia pergi ke klinik yang ada di bawah program saringan ni dan klinik tersebut menggunakan sistem MySejahtera, ia akan terus masuk ke dalam MySejahtera kita. Kita tak payah buat apa-apa. Kita just bagi kebenaran kepada klinik itu saja. Maka ya, saya bagi kebenaran untuk maklumat ini dihantar ke MySejahtera saja. Tak ada orang tak dipaksa guna MySejahtera, tak dipaksa untuk maklumat itu dihantar, tapi kalau bagi kebenaran dan maklumat itu terus akan naik dalam MySejahtera kita.
Khairi said this after launching the state-level Health Malaysia National Agenda and National Health Screening Initiative in Ipoh Perak on Saturday. He said health screening records and the immunisation records of children could also be seen via the application and urged users to update the application to access the latest features. Earlier on Saturday, the Health Minister had taken to Twitter to share photos of the latest updates, adding that more features would be installed in the application soon. He said future updates are set to see the inclusion of blood donation records and a digital pink book referring to health records for mothers and children. Among some of the personal medical details that will be linked to the app from health screenings is the user's height, weight, body mass index and blood type. Users will also be able to keep track of their various vaccination doses and follow-up appointments. Mohammad Rafizi Ramli said attracting voters in the next general election should be the priority rather than concern over party president Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's popularity. The PKR incoming deputy president said he does not understand why some party members are trying to pander to the PKR president to the extent that he seemed to be beyond criticism.
The factual finding is that, he is losing popularity. What is important for the party and the new leadership is not really to try to basically bodek Anwar ke pertahankan. Anwar is Anwar Ibrahim. He doesn't need to be defended.
He said this to reporters after Datuk Seri Anwar's policy speech at the 2022 PKR National Congress in Shah Alam, Selangor on Saturday. Meanwhile, Rafizi said PKR and Pakatan Harapan needed to consider two important things before deciding to collaborate with other opposition parties or to adopt the big tent approach in the 15th general election. He said it is imperative that PKR considers the sentiments of party members and PH supporters on whether to use the Big Tent approach, and secondly, its potential implications. The Malaysian government remains steadfast in its commitment to pursue truth, justice and accountability for the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17. In this regard, the government urges all states and parties involved to cooperate fully with the proceedings in accordance with the United Nations Security Council UNSC Resolution 2014. The Transport Ministry, in a statement issued to mark the 8th anniversary of the downing of the aircraft, also said the government remains committed to pursue independent, open and impartial criminal proceedings against the alleged perpetrators in the Dutch national prosecution. The statement included that a thorough and exhaustive judicial process must be pursued to hold the perpetrators accountable and to pursue justice for the victims and next of kin involved in the MH17 tragedy. The Boeing 777 was en route from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur on July 17, 2014, when it was shot down in the eastern part of Ukraine, killing all 298 passengers and crew on board. 36 civil society organisations have urged the government to set up a Royal Commission of Inquiry, RCI, to investigate the Musang King plantation in Gunung Inas following massive floods that ravaged 12 villages in Baling Kedah earlier this month. The non-governmental organisations also demanded the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, to conduct a thorough investigation on the project owner and all parties involved. A spokesman for the NGOs, Muhammad Sobri Ramli, said the government should reveal the environmental impact assessment and all other reports on the Musang King plantation to the public.
Jadi kita hanya dapat menyuarakan apa yang kita rasa, tapi kita perlukan laporan terperinci daripada Jabatan Alam Sekitar, Jabatan Perhutanan Sosial Malaysia, Kerajaan Negeri berkenaan dengan projek apa yang berlaku di atas sana. Itu dapat merungkai semua yang terjadi sekarang.
So memang nak menuntut RCI lah sekarang.
Kami menuntutkan RCI sebab sekarang ni tunding-menunding telah berlaku. Kita tak tahu mana satu yang betul, mana satu yang salah.
Meanwhile, Sahabat Alam Malaysia Field Officer Mio Razak Mio Abdul Rahman called for the Musang King plantation to be discontinued as durian trees were not listed under the Forest Plantation Development Programme by the Forestry Department of Peninsular Malaysia and the Plantation Industries and Commodities Ministry. He said all 36 NGOs are of the opinion that forest farming should not be carried out in any permanent forest reserve, be it timber latex clone or Musang King, because it will destroy natural forest covers. The organisations also expressed frustration over the July 4th incident, despite repeated complaints by villagers, environmentalists and non-governmental organisations against the Musang King plantation since 2018. The NGOs had also called for the state government to review other development and forest clearing projects in Kedah, including in the Ulu Muda and Teloi forest reserves in Sik. Ten shot dead in Papua over extra provinces. News from the Foreign Front when we return. foreign front. The Sri Lankan Parliament met on Saturday to begin the process of electing a new president to serve the rest of the current term, after the ousted President Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled abroad and resigned following mass protests over the country's economic collapse. During the proceedings, Rajapaksa's resignation letter was formally read out, the contents of which had not previously been made public. In his letter, Rajapaksa said he had taken all possible steps to avert the economic crisis, including inviting parliamentarians to form an all-party or unity government. He added that Sri Lanka's financial crisis was rooted in years of economic mismanagement that predated his presidency, along with the COVID-19 pandemic that drastically reduced the country's tourist arrivals and remittances from foreign workers. Parliament Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abiwardena, meanwhile, has promised a swift and transparent political process that should be completed within a week. Parliament will next meet on Tuesday to accept nominations for the post of president, and a vote to decide on the country's leader is set to take place on Wednesday. In Indonesia, 10 people were shot dead in the nation's easternmost region of Papua, an attack believed to be perpetrated by armed separatists. According to officials, the deadliest attack in recent years occurred on Saturday morning in the remote highland area of Nduga, resulting in 12 people sustaining gunshot wounds, 10 of whom died. It was reported that the incident came days after protests of a new law that will see the region divided from 2 into 5 provinces, with the addition of South Papua, Central Papua and Highland Papua provinces. The West Papua Liberation Army, which the government had designated as a terrorist organization, has rejected the administrative carve-up, threatening to shoot dead any official involved. A report by the Institute for Policy Analysis of Conflict stated that the organization had unleashed an unprecedented level of violence in Papua since its declaration of war in 2018, primarily driven by the group's ability to acquire more weapons. Officials said police were investigating the incident but had prioritized evacuating civilians. Over in Mexico, 14 people were killed on Friday after a Black Hawk military helicopter crashed in the northern state of Sinaloa. According to authorities, 15 people were transported as a result of the crash, 14 of whom died, while another was receiving medical attention. The cause of the crash was not immediately known, and there was no information suggesting the incident was related to Friday's capture of infamous drug lord Rafael Caro Quintero. Quintero, who was behind the killing of U.S. agent Enrique Kiki Camarena in 1985, was captured on Friday by Mexican forces nearly a decade after walking out of a Mexican prison and returning to drug trafficking. Meanwhile, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, in a statement, said he regrets the loss and expressed his condolences to the families of the deceased. China on Saturday reported its highest number of coronavirus cases since May, with millions in lockdown this weekend as authorities persist with their zero COVID-19 policy. The country reported 450 local infections on Saturday, up from 432 a day earlier, with most cases being asymptomatic. Following the rising wave of cases, fresh restrictions have been imposed in some parts of the country. Using snap lockdowns, long quarantines and mass testing, China is the last major economy still pursuing the goal of eliminating outbreaks, even as the strategy takes a heavy toll on the economy. China logged its lowest second-quarter growth rate since the initial COVID-19 outbreak, with GDP expanding just 0.4% on year. After this break, Chelsea's shopping spree continues. Sports coming up next. Don't go away. back with sports news now. Golf, the 150th Open Championship. Australia's Cameron Smith shot a blemish-free 8 under par 64 in the second round to take a 2-shot lead into the weekend. Smith topped the leaderboard on 13 under par for the tournament after pocketing 6 birdies and rolling in a long curving putt for an eagle at the 14th. Overnight leader Cameron Young of the United States stands at 11 under after signing for a 3 under par 69, a stroke ahead of home favourite Rory McIlroy and Norway's Victor Hovland, who shot 68 and 66 respectively. Young will play alongside Smith in Saturday's final group. Those who missed the cut alongside a tearful Tiger Woods included Brooks Koepka, once such a feature in majors, Padraig Harrington, Louis Oosthuizen, Henrik Stenson and the defending champion Colin Morikawa. Moving on to football, English Premier League side Chelsea have completed the signing of centre-back Kalidou Koulibaly from Napoli for a reported fee of around $40.4 million. Koulibaly has signed a 4-year contract at Stamford Bridge and will boost defensive options following the departures of Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen. He spent 8 years at Napoli, for whom he made 317 appearances and scored 14 goals, and penned an emotional tribute to the club's fans in a social media post last week. He started his career with French club Metz before moving on to spend 2 years in Belgium with Genk before joining Napoli in 2014. The 31-year-old becomes the club's second acquisition of the summer, following their move for England forward Raheem Sterling from Manchester City. In the meantime, Manchester United have reached a deal with Eredivisie champions Ajax Amsterdam to sign Argentine central defender Lisandro Martinez for around $53 million. According to BBC, Martinez has flown to Manchester to undergo a medical prior to his move. The 24-year-old, who can also play in midfield, would be manager Erik ten Hag's third signing, following the arrivals of Dutch left-back Tyrell Malacia and Denmark midfielder Christian Eriksen. He was a key figure for Ajax last season, making 36 appearances in all competitions and helping them to the league title and a runners-up finish in the Dutch Cup. Capped 7 times by Argentina, he would bolster United's defence, which conceded 57 goals last term, the most among the top 6. So to come on Nightline, woman suspected of killing husband remanded. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back, still on Nightline. Fugitive businessman Low Tech Joe, better known as Joe Low, had made attempts to engage with the Malaysian government for a settlement. The Attorney General's Chambers, AGC, confirmed this in a statement on Saturday, adding that his attempts, however, had been rejected. The AGC said that Joe Low, through his representatives, had made attempts to engage with the government of Malaysia for a settlement this year. In these attempts, Joe Low's representatives met with agencies of the government of Malaysia, including the AGC. However, it said all offers for a settlement from Joe Low's representatives were rejected by the AGC. On Friday, a news report by a local daily, quoting sources, had claimed that Jolo offered 1.5 billion ringgit to the Malaysian government to settle the charges against him. Jolo is accused of siphoning money from One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB, and is facing a 16.82 billion ringgit lawsuit filed by 1MDB and 4 of its subsidiaries. Over in Johor, police arrested a male friend of the suspect in a murder case at Flat Nipah to assist in investigations. Johor Bahru Selatan District Police Chief ACP Raub Slamat said the 52-year-old man was arrested on Saturday in the Majidi area. Raub said a urine test on the suspect found him to be positive for methamphetamine and amphetamine. He added that man also had 5 records, 2 drug-related, 2 criminal and 1 commercial crime case. Preliminary investigations found that the man and the 36-year-old victim's wife were under the influence of drugs at the time of the incident. Both suspects have been remanded until July 22nd. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code and the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. In Perak, the driver of the trailer involved in the fatal accident which killed a family of 4 at kilometre 277.1 of the North-South Expressway southbound on Wednesday has been released on police bail. Ipoh District Police Chief ACP Yahya Hassan said the 34-year-old man had been remanded for 3 days since Thursday and was released at about 10:45 a.m. on Saturday after his testimony was recorded. He added that police are awaiting instructions from the Deputy Public Prosecutor for further action. In the 2:45 p.m. accident on the Plus Highway, which involved 6 cars and the trailer, the 4 who died at the scene were police retiree Rahim Ramli, aged 60, his wife Siti Patimah Omar, aged 59, and their 2 daughters, Nur Hadira, 28, and Nur Hamiza, 27. Perak Police Chief Datuk Mio Farida Latrash Wahid said the driver had 13 traffic summonses from 2008 to last year, including 3 issued for road accidents. China has successfully launched a Long March 2C carrier rocket to place 2 satellites in space, marking its 427th flight of the Long March carrier rockets. The pair of satellites, which were lifted from the Taiwan Satellite Launch Center, will provide commercial remote sensing services for sectors such as land resources investigation as well as natural disaster monitoring. Let's take a look at the launch as we wrap up Nightline this time around. With that, I'm Manita Wu. Thank you for tuning in and be well, Malaysia.